I've known Dan for over 10 years. I first came to the Homeless Alliance as an intern. When I first met Dan, I think I was scared of him and really intimidated because he was the big boss. You know, he's the founder, he's the executive director. Pretty quickly, I learned he's the most approachable guy. He leads from a place of empathy and understanding. Dan has reshaped the way that our city thinks about people who are experiencing homelessness in ways I don't even know if we can quantify. The visibility he's brought to this issue, the dignity that he's brought to the issue has gone so far to destigmatize homelessness.
Well, I have probably talked to Dan and worked with Dan on what seems like countless occasions over the last 2 decades. He has always been the go-to person on a very critical issue in our community. Since becoming mayor, we created a homelessness task force that really created the vision in many ways that I think we are now implementing. We really have completely altered the city's involvement on the issue of homelessness just in the 6 years since I became mayor. We were not really the convener that we are today and the policymaker that we are today. And I think we've taken on a much larger role, and Dan has sort of helped guide us into that role. I mean, there is no other single human being who even comes close to the impact that Dan Straughan has had on the issue of homelessness, and this is not a minor issue in any community. I mean, this is a major issue, and if there's a Mount Rushmore of this topic in Oklahoma City, obviously Dan's face is probably the only one that should be up there. I mean, he stands alone.
The reason why Oklahoma City does not have a homeless population as high as what our population growth is because of Dan Straughan. Full stop, period. That's the reason. I mean, he is the catalyst, he is the reason, he is the expert, he's the collaborator, he is the most compassionate person that so many of us have ever or will ever meet.
From the very beginning, our mission was really simple: rallying the community to end homelessness. Homelessness is an issue that the community can address, but we have to do it together. So we operate Oklahoma City's only general use day shelter for people experiencing homelessness. And we see 8, 9, 10,000 unduplicated clients a year in there. We average about 350 a day. It has always been deeply about collaborating with our partners in the community. You know, there's 100+ government, faith-based, and nonprofit agencies in Oklahoma City that work at some level or another with people experiencing homelessness, 100. And so to have a resource like 211, I mean, it's not a nice to have, it's a have to have. You would never be able to navigate the system without a resource like 211 to lean on. You know, every individual is a little different with a little different needs. And so they're accessing 211 on the phone literally every day. It happens every day. It's hard to imagine what Oklahoma City would be like without it.
I think the collaboration between Heartline and the Homeless Alliance, it's kind of interesting because we both are kind of those hubs. You know, Homeless Alliance is really built on the idea of collaboration, as is Heartline. And we rely on Heartline all the time. 211 is probably our most common referral. When folks call and don't know where to turn, that's a great place to start, and we tell folks that all the time.
Heartline is a dear partner of us as well. The majority of our calls up here are for resources. We're not a service agency, so our first thing to do, unless we know the specific problem in a specific agency, is to direct those calls to 211, because we know that 211 will be able to provide the resources needed, and we know that when they're answering their phones that they are making the referrals and the resources that are so desperately needed.
Government can't do everything, but we really depend on the nonprofit sector to identify issues, to meet needs. I think it's really important that we collaborate and we support that nonprofit sector, but we really rely upon organizations like Heartline 211 and the Homeless Alliance and people like Dan Straughan to help meet these needs. We could not do this work without the nonprofit sector.
You know, the other thing that we're really proud of is social enterprise, right? Businesses that have a social purpose. And the first one we started with was Curbside Chronicle. Over the 10 years that we've had Curbside Chronicle, I honestly believe that has made more of a difference in the way the community perceives people experiencing homelessness than anything anybody has ever done. And here's why. We sell 12,000 copies of Curbside every month. That is 12,000 positive interactions between a homeless person and a person who is not homeless. And we've been doing that for a decade. And all those positive interactions, that builds up. You know, that flower shop, we did $100,000 in gross sales for Valentine's Day and $90,000 for Mother's Day. Talk about the community adopting a business. Holy cow. As a community, it feels to me like we have decided that there are smart ways to address homelessness, and that is the path we're going to pursue. There is a better way, and the Homeless Alliance has worked really hard to kind of hold up that better way to the rest of the community, and the community has really adopted those.
As we move into the future, I'm encouraged by the way that Oklahoma City nonprofits in general work together. I feel like we have a really unique and special community where there's a genuine sense of camaraderie, a genuine desire to cheer each other on, and a recognition that we're all pulling on the same rope. It feels very encouraging, and it's galvanizing. It's great to know that you're in the trenches with other awesome people who get it and who care, and who want to see Oklahoma City be a great place for all of our neighbors to live.
You know, there's probably no more apt word for the issue of homelessness than hope. That's sometimes all that people have when they're finding themselves in that situation. And sometimes maybe it's all that a community has as we struggle to address it. And nobody could probably have done a better job in giving us hope than Dan Straughan, because he's always had a vision. He's always had a plan for how to implement that vision. And that's what hope builds upon. That's what hope needs, our visions and plans and execution, and Dan always had that and always provided that leadership. And so it'd be hard to say that any single person in Oklahoma City has ever created more hope than Dan Straughan. So it's a most fitting award.
I mean, I love Heartline. I kind of looked up some of the past winners of this award, and don't really feel like I'm in their league. But it's extraordinarily humbling, and I'm very grateful.